Good morning, my dear friend. The first light of dawn is breaking through the sky, painting the horizon with soft gold and gentle shades of rose. The air is cool, the world is hushed, and in this quiet hour before the rush of daily noise, there is a sacred stillness. Morning is not just another beginning. It is a gift of renewal, a gentle reminder that life itself has been entrusted to us once again. This is the most tender moment of the day, when the soul feels closest to eternity, when the heart is most open to whispers of hope. Perhaps you are listening with heavy eyes and a weary spirit. Perhaps your night was long, filled with thoughts that would not let you rest. Maybe you carry the weight of loss, the ache of unanswered questions, or the quiet dread of an uncertain future. I think of a woman I once met who had buried her dreams beneath layers of disappointment. She had lost someone dear and could not see how the world would ever feel whole again. Her mornings were once full of dread, because waking meant facing another day of emptiness. And yet, as she began to sit in stillness each dawn, lifting her fragile heart in prayer, she discovered something unexpected. It was not that her grief disappeared overnight, but that a subtle strength began to grow. Like a candle resisting the darkness, that strength became her anchor. And little by little she learned to walk with peace, even in the valley of shadows. Maybe you see yourself in her story. You might be wrestling with pain that has no easy name, fear that steals your breath, or memories that haunt your sleep. You may feel as though you are standing on shifting ground, unable to see a clear path forward. But let this morning be different. Let this sunrise mark the beginning of a journey that leads not away from your struggles, but through them, into the arms of the one who makes all things new. Faith is not a denial of pain. It is the quiet courage to lift your eyes above the storm and see that there is still a greater light. Prayer is not an escape from reality, but the most powerful way of facing it. Because when you pray, you are no longer standing alone. Every whispered word, every sigh of your heart is gathered by the one who listens without judgment and answers with love. In prayer, despair is met with hope, fear is answered by peace, and weakness is covered by strength. That is why we will walk together through these 24 chapters of morning prayer. Each chapter is a step on a sacred path. We begin in vulnerability, admitting our brokenness, and we move slowly into trust, surrender, renewal, and joy. This is not a sprint, but a pilgrimage of the soul. Each morning we will pause, breathe deeply, and allow our spirits to be refreshed. Each prayer will be exactly the length it needs to be, long enough to hold the fullness of your heart, and deep enough to draw you closer to the God who never leaves you. So as the sun rises and the light fills the earth, I invite you to open your heart. You do not need perfect words, only an honest spirit. Lay aside the distractions that clamor for your attention. For these moments, let go of yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's anxieties. Be present now. In this sacred stillness, imagine the soft light of dawn, not just touching the earth, but also touching the hidden places of your soul, awakening hope where it seemed lost, stirring life where it felt barren. This is your invitation. Step into the conversation that your heart has been longing for. Allow yourself to be held by the mystery of divine love. These prayers will guide you, but more than that, they will teach you to listen, to notice, to rest, and to rise again. Together we will speak words of faith that carry power beyond our understanding. Together we will walk into the light of morning with courage, believing that the God who gave us this day has also given us the strength to live it fully. So come, my dear friend. The dawn is calling, and the Spirit is near. The journey is waiting for you. Let us begin. Dear Heavenly Father, in this quiet moment of morning stillness, I come before you with a heart that feels both heavy and yet searching for light. The world is only just awakening, the sun still low on the horizon, and in this sacred silence I sense the small tremors of my own soul reaching out for something steady. My spirit feels tired, my mind still fogged by all the weight of yesterday. Yet I long to begin this day with you. I do not want to walk into the hours ahead carrying the shadows of what has been. I want to start here, in honesty, laying bare all that I am, all that I lack, and all that I hope for. I confess that I often feel numb, as though my prayers are whispers that vanish before they rise. There are days when faith feels like a distant memory, when hope is too fragile to hold. Yet even here, in the dim light of dawn, something within me stirs, some quiet reminder that you are still near, like the soft glow on the horizon. Your presence rises slowly into my awareness. I may not see it fully, but I sense its warmth beginning to reach me, and that is enough for me to lift my eyes and breathe. I bring to you my weariness, the corners of my heart that feel bruised and unresponsive. I bring to you the fears that tighten around me when I think of the unknown future. I bring to you the disappointments I cannot quite shake, the dreams that seem to have fallen asleep inside me. I do not try to polish them or hide them. I lay them bare as they are, messy and unformed, because I believe you can hold them, even the fragments, even the silence, even the parts of me I do not understand. I place them before you. In this act of offering, I realize that I am not empty, though I often feel that way. My emptiness is only a vessel waiting to be filled. My weakness is only an opening for your strength. My longing is proof that my spirit still knows where home is, so I turn toward you with trembling faith, asking that this morning would not be wasted, that these first breaths of the day would align me once again with your heart. Father, let this be the morning when numbness begins to break. Let this be the morning when stillness is not silence, but a canvas for your voice. Let this be the morning when what is dry begins to taste the first drop of living water. I do not need a flood. Even a stream would be enough, for I know that streams become rivers and rivers lead to oceans. One small beginning is enough if it is from you. As I wait here, I remember the words of Isaiah, that you will make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. My life often feels like that wilderness, barren and uncertain. Yet your promise assures me that it does not have to stay that way. The desert is not the end of the story. The dry ground can bloom again. My heart clings to that truth this morning, that even when all I see are empty stretches of land, you are already planting seeds beneath the soil, preparing life that has not yet surfaced. So I choose not to despair in this stillness. but to look for the hidden movements of your hand. I choose to believe that behind the silence there is a song, behind the shadows there is light, behind the waiting there is purpose. My faith may be small, but even a small flame can keep back the night. Strengthen that flame in me today. Teach me to hold it gently and guard it carefully until it grows brighter. Father, I ask for the courage to face this day as it comes. I do not know what I will encounter, but I know I do not walk into it alone. Let your presence accompany me in every step. Let your peace steady me when fear rises. Let your love soften me when I am tempted to grow hard. In moments when I am tempted to retreat into despair, remind me of your closeness. In moments when I am overwhelmed, whisper to me that your grace is sufficient. In moments when I am restless, draw me back to the stillness where I find you again. This morning I make a simple request, not for riches or recognition, but for renewal. Renew my mind that I may think with clarity. Renew my heart that I may love with tenderness. Renew my strength that I may endure with hope. Renew my spirit that I may walk faithfully even when the path is dim. Let the rising sun outside be a reflection of what you are doing within me, lighting the darkness, warming the coldness, awakening what has been asleep. And as I breathe these words, I imagine your hand resting upon me, steady and gentle. I imagine that the weight I feel pressing on me is not mine to carry alone. I imagine that my life, fragile as it is, rests securely in yours. That picture alone gives me comfort. It gives me courage to trust that though the day ahead may hold challenges, it will also hold grace. And that grace will be enough. Father, I will not end this prayer with certainty, for I am still on the journey. I will not close the book, for the story is still being written. Instead, I leave this moment open like the morning sky, wide and expectant, waiting for what you will do. I will rise now with a heart a little lighter, my faith a little stronger, and my hope a little brighter, trusting that this is only the beginning of what you are making new. Father, as the morning deepens and I continue from the stillness I found before, I sense that what rises now is not calm but the raw H that I so often keep hidden. In the gentle quiet of the first light, when the world has not yet claimed my attention, the cry of my soul grows louder than the sound of any bird or passing wind. Yesterday's silence was broken by the hope of your nearness, but today I feel compelled to let my sorrow spill out without restraint. I realize that to move deeper into trust, I must first empty my heart of the weight it carries, not with polished words, but with the trembling honesty that you alone can bear. I admit, Father, that there are times when fear has its grip on me so strongly that I cannot move forward. I try to appear strong to others, but within I am fragile, shaken by uncertainty. There are nights when the darkness presses so heavily that even my dreams feel like shadows of despair. I have walked through hours where tears came unbidden, when memories of what I lost or mistakes I cannot erase returned like sharp echoes. I have wondered if the pain I feel will ever lift, or if the heavy cloak of dread will be with me forever. And yet here I am, speaking these truths into your presence, believing that if anyone can hold them without turning away, it is you. I cry out because I know you hear, even when my voice falters, Even when my words are scattered, I trust that not a single sigh escapes your notice. Like a parent bending low to listen to a child's broken sentence, you lean close to me in my weakness. I do not have to pretend before you. I do not have to hide the trembling of my heart. The honesty I bring is itself a kind of faith, for it means I believe you are near enough to hear and merciful enough to understand. Father, my weakness feels overwhelming. My body tires quickly. My mind spins in circles. My heart sinks under burdens too great to name. I long for release, but I cannot find it on my own. I confess that I have sought comfort in shallow places, distractions that promise relief but leave me emptier. Yet as I cry out to you this morning, I sense that even my helplessness can become an offering. My need is not a barrier between us, but a bridge, because it calls forth your strength in the very place I am frail. As the sky brightens with steady light, I ask for courage to remain in this vulnerable space. Do not let me rush past it into easy answers or quick assurances. Teach me instead to dwell here long enough for my weakness to be transformed by your presence. Let the tears I shed be gathered by your compassion, like rain absorbed into fertile soil, destined to bring growth I cannot yet see. Though my voice shakes, let it rise like incense, fragile yet precious in your sight. Father, I am reminded of the words spoken long ago, that the righteous cry out, and you deliver them from all their troubles. My heart clings to that promise, even as I feel surrounded by troubles I cannot name. Deliverance may not come in an instant, but I believe it begins the moment I turn to you, the moment I allow my desperation to reach beyond myself and find its anchor in your love. So I cry not in vain, but in hope that each broken word carries me closer to freedom. This morning, I choose to lift before you the specific fears that weigh me down. I fear failure in the tasks ahead, fear rejection from those I long to be close to, fear of loss that may strike again when I least expect it. These fears shape the way I walk and cloud the way I see, yet I set them here in your presence, naming them not to give them power, but to release their hold. I do not want fear to be my guide. I want your spirit to lead me into the day with confidence that does not come from me, but from you. And Father, I cannot cry only for myself. My heart aches for those I love, for the burdens they carry in silence, for the struggles they hide behind brave faces. I lift them to you now, each one precious in your sight, asking that the same mercy I seek would be poured over them. Where they are hurting, bring comfort. Where they are weary, bring strength. Where they are bound by fear, bring release. Hear not only my voice, but the voices of all who cry to you in their weakness, gathering us together under the shelter of your compassion. As I let these cries rise, I sense the strange relief of honesty. To admit my frailty is to lay down a burden I was never meant to carry alone. I feel lighter though nothing outside has changed, because within me I am reminded that I am heard. There is freedom in being known fully and still loved. There is hope in knowing that weakness is not the end, but the beginning of grace. Father, as the morning unfolds, I ask that you keep my heart tender enough to continue crying out to you whenever the weight grows too heavy. Let me not grow hardened or numb again. Let me not silence my voice out of shame. Instead, keep me close, keep me honest, and keep me dependent upon you. For in my weakness, your strength is revealed, and in my crying, your comfort draws near. I rise from this prayer not with answers, but with assurance, not with all fears erased, but with the peace of knowing I do not face them alone. And so I continue forward, trusting that every cry I release into the dawn is gathered by your mercy and held in your unshakable love. Father, as my voice quiets after the cries of weakness, I find myself drawn into the gentle rhythm of memory. The tears have fallen, and the honesty of my heart has been spoken, but in their place rises something unexpected. It is the recollection of moments when you carried me, moments when your hand lifted me, even when I thought I would collapse. My weakness made me cry out, but now that cry leads me to remembrance. I cannot deny the shadows that surround me, but neither can I ignore the light that's broken through in times past. I remember nights when fear pressed in so heavily that I could not sleep, and yet somehow morning arrived, and with it a calm I could not explain. I remember times when I had nothing left to give, when doors seemed locked from every side, but then one door swung open in a way no human effort could have arranged. I remember the laughter that surprised me after long seasons of sorrow, the healing that came slowly but surely to wounds I thought would never close. These memories are not accidents. They are traces of your presence marking the path behind me. Father, the more I recall, the more I realize that my life is stitched together with threads of your mercy. Each step, though faltering, has been steadied by your unseen hand. Each loss that threatened to undo me became, in time, the soil for something new to grow. I cannot rewrite the pain, but I can recognize that pain never had the final word. Again and again, you have spoken life where I only expected endings. Again and again, you have shown me that brokenness can be a doorway to deeper grace. The memories return like gentle waves, not to drown me, but to remind me that the tide of your faithfulness never ceases. I see the child I once was, uncertain and small, yet always preserved. I see the seasons of scarcity, when I did not know how my needs would be met, and yet provision came, sometimes from places I least expected. I see the prayers I whispered into the silence, and though answers were delayed, they came in forms more perfect than my imagination could have shaped. These recollections breathe life into me now, giving strength where despair threatened to remain. Father, I do not want to forget these stories. Forgetting would be like walking blind, unable to see the landmarks that testify to your goodness. So I choose to remember. I choose to mark this morning, not only with cries of weakness, but with declarations of gratitude for the past. My heart speaks aloud the truth that you have never abandoned me. My spirit testifies that though storms have raged, none have erased the evidence of your care. Even now, as I stand at another threshold of uncertainty, I know I am not standing alone. As I meditate on these memories, I find my faith stirring. What you have done before, you are able to do again. The same hand that rescued me once is not shortened. The same love that comforted me then and has not grown cold. You remain constant, unchanging, ever faithful, and this knowledge gives me courage to face the present moment. I can trust tomorrow because I have seen what you have done yesterday. I can rest today because my story bears witness that you are a God who finishes what you begin. Father, let these remembrances sink deep into my spirit so that when fear whispers lies, I have truth to answer. When doubt creeps near, I have testimony to speak back. When weakness overwhelms me again, I will not forget the strength you have already supplied. Let memory be my shield, a living reminder that my faith is not built on ideas, but on lived encounters with your presence. I think of the promise that I will remember the deeds of the Lord. Yes, I will remember your wonders of old. Those wonders are not confined to distant history. They are alive in my own journey. You have walked with me through valleys. You have lifted me on mountains. You have steadied me on narrow paths. Even when I was unaware, even when I doubted, you were there. My recollections become a song of praise rising from within me, a melody shaped by gratitude, fragile yet full of truth. Father, as I carry these memories into this day, let them not become relics but seeds. May they plant hope for what lies ahead. May they teach me to expect goodness even when I cannot see it. May they remind me that you are consistent, that the one who saved me then will sustain me now. I ask for the grace to never overlook the evidence of your love, to treasure even the smallest signs of your care, to let my heart be trained in remembrance. And so I step into this day, not only with the weight of my cries, but with the strength of my memories. I hold them like lanterns, illuminating the path before me. They are proof that you are faithful. They are reminders that I am never forsaken. They are anchors that keep me steady when the waters of doubt rise high. And as I walk forward, I know that what you have done is only the beginning of what you will continue to do. Father, as I continue from the path of remembering, my heart leans into the assurance that those memories reveal something greater than isolated moments. They reveal a pattern of protection, a covering that has followed me even when I did not recognize it. If chapter 3 reminded me of your faithfulness in the past, this moment draws me to dwell on the present shelter you provide. My soul is tired from battles, but I realize now that I have never fought alone. The same hand that rescued me before is the same hand that shields me now, and this truth awakens in me a deeper trust. I find myself picturing the gentle wings of a bird stretched wide over its young, shielding them from storm and predator alike. There is a calmness in knowing that nothing can reach them without first passing through the covering of those wings. Father, that is how I sense your presence this morning. My life feels vulnerable, but under the span of your protection I find refuge. Though storms may rage around me, within this shelter my heart can breathe, my spirit can rest, and my fear begins to fade. Father, I confess that too often I have searched for safety in fragile places. I have relied on my own strength, on the promises of others, on the temporary security of things that can vanish in an instant. Each time those shelters have collapsed, leaving me exposed and broken. But you remind me that my true refuge is not found in walls built by human hands, nor in plans crafted by my own limited vision. My refuge is in you alone, and under your wings I find the only covering that cannot be stripped away. As I sit in this morning light, I let myself imagine being hidden in that sacred shadow, where no weapon formed against me can prosper, where no accusation can pierce, where no fear can dominate. The world may still throw its storms my way, but they cannot undo me, for I am guarded by the Almighty. The assurance of this truth fills me with a peace that goes deeper than my understanding. It does not mean I will never face hardship, but it means I will never face it unprotected. Father, let your shelter be more than a poetic thought. Let it be my reality today. When I step into conversations that make me anxious, remind me I am under your covering. When I face responsibilities that feel too heavy, remind me that I am not uncovered. When danger or temptation whispers near, lift my awareness so I know that I am hidden in the shadow of your wings. Teach me to carry this awareness into every place I go so that my heart is never far from the safety of your presence. I remember now the words that you will cover me with your feathers, and under your wings I will find refuge. These words are not distant promises. They are living breath for me right now. In my weakness, I rest there. In my uncertainty, I hide there. In my longing, I draw close there. It is not just protection from harm, but also the tenderness of belonging. To be sheltered is not only to be safe, but to be wanted. Gathered close, held near to the heartbeat of the one who loves me more than I can understand. Father, in this place of refuge, my spirit is steadied. I no longer feel like a wanderer left to fend for myself. I am like a child drawn into the arms of a parent, secure in a love that does not let go. My fears may still whisper, but their voices lose power beneath the steady rhythm of your nearness. My doubts may still arise, but they cannot dominate where your covering rests. This awareness begins to heal the hidden anxieties I carry, replacing them with the calm confidence that you are for me, not against me. Even as I pray these words, I sense that this shelter is not meant only for my own comfort, but also for those I love. So I place them here beneath your wings as well. I lift my family, my friends, all those who walk uncertain paths, and I ask that you cover them with the same divine protection. Guard them from harm, shield them from despair. Keep them close to your heart. Let them know, even if only in a quiet whisper, that they are not alone. Father, I cannot control the storms that may come today. I cannot predict the trials that may arise, but I can choose where I will dwell. I choose not to live in the open winds of fear, but in the shadow of your presence. I choose not to carry my burdens unguarded, but to rest them under the spread of your wings. And as I choose this, I feel the strength to rise, knowing that whatever I face, I am sheltered. So I walk into this day not with trembling, but with assurance. The world may be unpredictable, but my refuge is constant. My path may be uncertain, but my shelter is sure. And in this truth, my spirit finds rest, my heart finds courage, and my soul finds peace. Father, as I linger in the comfort of your shelter, I realize that being hidden beneath your wings is not the end of the journey, but a place from which decisions are made. Refuge has given me rest, but now I face the path that stretches before me. And here at this point, I feel the weight of choice. It is a crossroads, and my heart knows that the direction I take will be determined not by circumstance but by trust. Shelter has reminded me of safety, but faith requires me to step forward, to walk the road even when I cannot see its end. Father, I confess that trust does not come easily. It demands surrender when my instinct is to control. It calls for faith when fear still lingers at the edges of my thoughts. It invites me to release my grip on what is familiar and venture into what is unknown. I know you are faithful. I have remembered your goodness. I have felt your covering, yet my heart still wrestles with hesitation. The crossroad before me is marked by this question. Will I lean on my own understanding, or will I choose to trust in you completely? This decision touches every part of my life. I think of the tasks ahead of me, the conversations waiting, the responsibilities pressing on my shoulders. My mind offers its calculations, its strategies, its attempts to manage every detail. Yet there is a quiet voice within me urging me to pause, to listen, to place my confidence not in my ability, but in your wisdom. Father, help me to choose the road of trust. Let this morning be the moment I set my heart toward reliance on you rather than on myself. I remember the words that say to trust in the Lord with all my heart, and not to lean on my own understanding, to acknowledge you in all my ways, so that you will make my path straight. Father, I want to live inside that promise. I want my steps to be guided not by fear or doubt, but by the certainty that you see what I cannot see. At this crossroads, give me the courage to take the path that depends on you, even if it feels uncertain, even if it stretches into fog. For if you go before me, I know I will not be lost. Father, I admit that I have often chosen the path of self-reliance. I have leaned heavily on my own insight, only to find myself wary and wandering. I have pursued what looked safe, what looked sensible, only to discover that those roads ended in disappointment. Yet each time, you have patiently led me back, showing me that trust in you is not wasted. Today, I want to choose differently. Today, I want to stand at this crossroad and step into the way that honors you, even if it asks me to let go of my control. Trust feels like risk, but it is really the truest form of security. To trust you is to place my life in hands that have never failed, to entrust my future to wisdom that has never erred. Father, strengthen my heart to believe this fully. Teach me that surrender is not weakness, but the greatest act of strength, because it declares that I know who holds me, who guides me, who loves me beyond measure. At this crossroad, I choose to trust you with my fears. The fears that whisper I will not have enough. The fears that insist I will fail. The fears that replay old wounds and warn me against hope. I set them down at your feet and turn my back to them. I will not let them dictate the direction of my life. Instead, I place my hope in you, believing that trust in you is never misplaced. At this crossroad, I choose to trust you with my desires, the longings that feel unanswered, the dreams that seem delayed, the prayers that have not yet been fulfilled. Instead of clutching them in frustration, I release them into your care. I choose to believe that you know the right time, that you know the right way, that you know what I cannot know. I believe that in trusting you, I will not be disappointed. even if the outcome looks different than I imagined. At this crossroad, I choose to trust you with those I love. I cannot shield them from every hurt. I cannot guide them through every valley, but you can. You are their protector, their shepherd, their healer. So I place them in your keeping, knowing that trust stretches beyond myself into the lives of those who are dearest to me. Father, I cannot deny that this choice is daily. Trust is not a one-time step, but a constant turning, a continual surrender. I will face this crossroad again tomorrow, and again the day after. But this morning I ask for the strength to take the first step. I ask for the courage to wake each day with the same decision, to trust you more than my fears, more than my understanding, more than the voices around me. So here I stand, Father, with the light of morning shining on the road ahead. The path may be uncertain, but my direction is clear. I choose trust. I choose surrender. I choose to walk in faith, not because I have all the answers, but because I know the one who does. And as I step forward, I believe that each step will be steadied by your hand, each turn guided by your wisdom, each moment secured by your love. Father, as I take the first step down the path of trust, I realize how much I need to hear your voice. Not the voice of pressure or demand, not the thunder of command, but the quiet leading that rises from deep within, the kind of voice that does not force, but invites. I am learning that trusting you is not only about taking bold steps, but about being still enough to listen for the ones you have already marked. And here, in this early light, when the world is hushed and the noise of the day has not yet begun, I am leaning in for the whisper of your spirit. I do not always know what to listen for. The thoughts in my head compete for attention. The worries of the day knock loudly at the door. But somewhere beneath the surface, I know that you are speaking. You do not shout over the noise. You wait for stillness. You speak in ways that only the quiet can hear. So I quiet myself now, not just in body, but in soul, hoping to recognize your gentle voice among the many that try to shape me. Father, I remember the promise that when the Spirit of truth comes, He will guide me into all truth. That promise feels personal this morning. I do not need 100 answers. I need one true direction. I do not need a flood of clarity. I need one faithful light. So I ask you to speak not for performance or display, but for communion. Speak in the secret spaces where my heart is raw and real. Let your Spirit guide me, not only toward what to do, but into who I am becoming. I am beginning to see that guidance is not always a map, but a presence. Your Spirit does not always give me the full picture, but He gives me peace. He does not always tell me when or how, but He assures me that you are near. And somehow, that is enough. Father, let me grow more familiar with this quiet leading. Train my heart to recognize the language of your Spirit, not just in sacred places, but in the ordinary rhythm of my day, in the sound of my breath, in the pause between decisions, in the peace that settles even when answers do not. Father, forgive me for the times I have rushed past the whisper, for the moments I have chosen noise over stillness, movement over waiting, control over surrender. I have looked for signs in the sky while ignoring the nudge in my spirit. But you are patient with me, always drawing me back to stillness, always inviting me again to listen. Let this morning mark a shift in how I move through the world. Let it be the beginning of a deeper listening, not only to the words you speak, but to the tone in which you speak them. Your whisper does not come to shame or pressure, but to affirm and remind. Your spirit speaks truth, but always with grace, conviction, but never condemnation, urgency, but never fear. This is the voice I need to shape me, to steady me, to reorient me when I begin to drift. So many voices demand my attention, voices of fear, of doubt, of expectation, but only one voice leads me to peace. Teach me to discern that voice and to follow it without hesitation. Father, I invite your Spirit into every space of my life, into the moments I label insignificant, into the routines I carry out without thought, into the conversations where I need wisdom and restraint. Let your whisper meet me not only in sacred hours, but in common ones. Let me not compartmentalize where I expect to hear you, for you are not confined by buildings or boundaries. Your spirit dwells within me, and that means every moment holds the potential for divine encounter. Speak, Father, in the way only you can, in the question that lingers longer than expected, in the scripture that returns to mind without warning, in the silence that draws me inward, in the tension that refuses to release until I surrender. Let me become so familiar with the sound of your voice that I recognize it even in the midst of noise. Let me trust it even when it leads away from comfort. Let me follow it even when I cannot see where it ends. Father, help me not to measure your voice by volume, but by its effect. If it brings peace where there was unrest, I will follow. If it brings clarity where there was confusion, I will respond. If it brings humility where there was pride, I will obey. I do not ask for signs in the sky, but for the soft nudge within that reminds me you are here and that you are speaking. And when I hear you, let me not delay. Let me respond with trust, even if my feet feel unsure. Let my yes come quickly, not because I am strong, but because I am yours. And when I cannot hear clearly, remind me that silence is not absence, that waiting is not failure, that trust is not about perfect clarity, but about nearness. Even when I feel unsure, I choose to believe you are still guiding me. Even when the path is dim, I choose to believe that your Spirit is walking with me, illuminating just enough for today. So I begin this day with ears open, not just to the noise around me, but to the whisper within. I may not have every answer, but I have your presence. I may not know the outcome, but I know the one who leads. And in that knowing, I find the confidence to move slowly, intentionally, and faithfully, listening for your whisper in every breath I take. Father, after listening for the whisper of your Spirit, I now find myself standing in the quiet that follows. It is not an empty quiet, but one filled with steady presence. And as I remain here, something inside me begins to shift. Where there was exhaustion, there is now a flicker of energy. Where there was heaviness, a lightness stirs. I am not yet running, but I feel the strength beginning to return, slow and deep, like breath returning to lungs that had forgotten how to expand. This, too, is a kind of miracle not loud or dramatic, but holy nonetheless. I know now that strength does not always arrive with fanfare. Sometimes it comes like a sunrise, imperceptible at first, and then suddenly the darkness is gone. Sometimes it does not feel like power, but like perseverance. It is the grace to keep going when everything in me wants to stop. It is the decision to believe when doubt still knocks. It is the resilience to rise again, even if yesterday left me in pieces. And I am beginning to see that this strength is not my own making. It is a gift, flowing from you, moment by moment. Father, you have said that those who wait upon you, you will renew their strength. They will rise on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. I cling to that promise this morning. I have known weariness. I have felt the dull ache of soul fatigue. But now, in this quiet, I am waiting not in impatience, but in expectancy. I am not striving, only breathing. I am not forcing, only receiving. And as I wait, I trust that you are already at work, renewing what has worn thin inside me. The strength I ask for is not the kind that intimidates or dominates. It is not a mask I wear to impress others. It is the quiet courage that endures the unseen battles. It is the steady hand that keeps holding even when the outcome is unclear. It is the inner resilience that comes not from pride, but from trust. Father, give me that kind of strength, the kind that holds fast when I am tempted to let go, the kind that moves forward even when the ground beneath me feels unsure. I think of the eagle, how it does not chase the wind, but waits for it, then rises effortlessly when the time is right. It does not fight to stay aloft, but trusts the air to carry it. That is the picture I hold in my heart today. Let me be like that. Let me rise, not through force, but through surrender. Let my strength be found not in constant effort, but in deep connection with you. Lift me above what weighs me down. Carry me through what I cannot carry alone. Father, I bring to you every place where my strength has run out. The parts of me that feel like they have nothing left to give. The responsibilities that feel too heavy. The emotions that swing too wildly. The situations that drain more than they give. I do not come pretending to be strong. I come as I am, open and empty, asking you to fill me with what I cannot create on my own. Strength for the tasks ahead, strength to be kind when it is hard, strength to speak truth in love, strength to remain steady when the winds of life are fierce. And it is not only physical strength I ask for, but strength of heart, strength of spirit, the kind that keeps me tender in a world that teaches hardness, the kind that forgives when bitterness seems easier, the kind that sees beauty when the brokenness screams louder, the kind that continues to pray even when the answers do not come quickly. Father, I want to be rooted so deeply in you that my strength is not dependent on mood or moment, but on the unshakable truth of who you are. Let this day be a training ground for strength. Teach me to see every challenge not as a threat, but as a place where your power can be revealed. Teach me to respond not with panic, but with patience, not with escape, but with endurance. Let my strength be made perfect in weakness, not because I am enough, but because you are. Father, I also lift up those I love who are walking through valleys of exhaustion, those who wake up already tired, whose souls are weary from burdens they cannot share. Breathe strength into them today. Remind them that they are not invisible, that you see their hidden struggles. Fill their hearts with fresh energy, not only for survival, but for joy. Let them know that they, too, can rise, that they, too, can soar above the storms that once held them down. I ask you to help me carry strength quietly, not as something to prove, but something to offer. Let it show in the way I listen, the way I serve, the way I hold space for others without needing the spotlight. Let it show in my steady presence, in my quiet faith, in the way I keep walking even when the road is long. Let my life become a resting place for others, not because I have no burdens, but because you are the source of all that holds me together. So I walk into this day not with clenched fists, but with open hands, not in frantic motion, but with peaceful strength. I walk knowing that my steps are sustained by more than effort. They are lifted by grace. And if I begin to feel the weight again, I will return to this place of waiting, this place of remembering, this place of renewal. For I believe that those who wait upon you will rise, and I believe that rising begins now. Father, after rising with renewed strength, I now notice something else returning to me, something softer, something I had not even realized had been missing. It comes quietly, without demand or force, like a forgotten melody humming faintly in the background of my soul. It is wonder, and as I sit here in this early hour, with light spilling gently through the sky, I realize that I have not only needed strength to keep walking, but wonder to remember why I walk at all. There was a time when everything felt sacred, a bird in flight, a breeze on my face. The way sunlight filtered through the leaves, all of it, it whispered of your presence. But life, with its demands and its dulling routines, slowly pulled a veil over my eyes. I became so focused on surviving that I forgot how to be surprised. So caught up in trying to fix what was broken, I forgot how to marvel at what was still whole. And in that forgetting, part of my soul went quiet. But now, Father, after these mornings of surrender and stillness and strength, I feel that veil lifting. I begin to see again, not just with my eyes, with the heart of a child who believes that every breath is a miracle and every ordinary moment can be holy. I feel wonder stirring in me again, not because everything is easy or resolved, but because I am awake, fully awake. And that is grace I did not know I needed. You are not only the God who carries me through storms, but the one who paints colors into the sky just to delight me. You are not only my refuge, but also the creator of beauty, so intricate and intentional that I cannot help but pause. I remember now that faith is not only about endurance, it is also about awe, about opening my eyes to see the fingerprints of heaven in the small things, in the in-between moments, in the details I have overlooked 1,000 times. Father, I ask you to restore wonder to my life, not as something rare, but as something daily. Teach me to look again at what I have grown used to and see it as if for the first time. Let the rising sun not just signal another day, but remind me of your constant creativity. Let the laughter of a stranger or the hush of a quiet room stop me long enough to realize that you are always near. I do not want to move through life numb to your presence. I do not want to miss the sacred hiding inside the ordinary. Awaken me to beauty. Awaken me to light. Awaken me to the silent miracles that arrive without announcement. Let me become the kind of person who slows down long enough to notice the shift in the wind, the sparkle in a raindrop, the kindness in someone else's eyes. Father, wonder is not weakness. It is the beginning of worship, and I want my heart to be a place where worship begins not just in songs or in prayer, but in noticing. Noticing what you have made. Noticing what you are doing. Noticing that life, even with its sharp edges, is still full of glory. I want to taste joy again, not because circumstances are perfect, but because I have opened my soul to see what is good. Help me to remember that you are both mighty and tender, that you split seas but also number sparrows, that you hold galaxies in your hands and still know how many hairs are on my head, that you walk with kings and still meet me here, in this quiet room, before the world begins its noise. This knowing brings me to stillness. This knowing brings me to tears. Let me not grow so busy trying to change my life that I forget to enjoy it. Let me not pray so hard for tomorrow that I miss the holiness of this morning. Let me not be so focused on outcomes that I lose the awe of being alive. Let wonder not be reserved for mountaintops. Let it live here too, in coffee cups and cracked sidewalks, and in the hush of morning silence. And if pain clouds my view again, and I know that it will bring me back to this place, to this remembering, to this reverence, teach me to fight despair, not only with strength, but with wonder. For wonder is the doorway through which gratitude walks, and gratitude is what keeps the soul alive. Father, if I begin to drift again into numbness, call me back. Remind me with the sound of water, the warmth of light, the softness of breath. Use whatever you must to reawaken wonder in me. I do not want a faith that is only disciplined. I want a faith that is delighted. I want to look at the world through your eyes and be undone by the kindness hidden in its corners. And so I walk into this day not only asking for help, but asking for eyes to see the sky not just as atmosphere, but as artwork, to see people not just as problems or roles, but as image bearers of you, to see myself not just as a project to fix, but as a living soul capable of joy. Let my first instinct be wonder before worry. Let my posture be one of reverence before resistance. I rise from this prayer carrying something fragile, but precious, a renewed ability to notice, a sacred desire to be amazed. And I will guard that wonder. Father, I will protect it from cynicism. I will feed it with stillness. I will return to it when the world tries to harden me again. For this, too, is a kind of strength, the strength to be soft, the strength to be moved, the strength to be filled with awe at the simplest gifts you place in my path. Father, as wonder begins to awaken in me again, I feel my soul longing for something deeper still, something quieter, something steady, not the thrill of a new beginning or the rush of inspiration, but the kind of peace that sits like still water at the center of everything. After wonder softens the edges of my heart, I am drawn now toward calm, toward quiet strength, toward the slow path that leads me into peace. I know now that peace does not come all at once. It is not a switch flipped on or a prize won after struggle. It is a gentle unfolding, a process of returning, a decision I must make over and over again to slow down, to breathe, to release what was never mine to carry. There have been many mornings where I have chased peace, as if it were hiding from me. But you have been teaching me, Father, that peace is not something I earn, it is something I receive, and it rarely arrives in a rush. This morning I do not ask for immediate answers or the sudden absence of pressure. I simply ask to walk this day with a heart that is quieted, not because everything is resolved, but because I am learning to rest in you. I want peace not just around me, but within me. Not only when life is smooth, but even when it is not. I want peace that is planted deep, untouched by the noise that surrounds me or the weight that waits for me. Father, I bring before you the things that disrupt that peace, the lingering anxieties that stir when I think too far ahead, the regrets that echo when I glance behind, the small, persistent tensions that tighten my chest even before the day begins. I name them before you not to dwell in them, but to release them. I empty them into your hands, believing that you are strong enough to carry what I cannot. Peace, I am learning, begins with trust, not just in theory, but in the quiet choices I make moment by moment. To release instead of control, to breathe instead of react, to wait instead of worry. This path is slower than I expect, but it is also safer than the frantic pace I once believed was necessary. Father, walk it with me. Keep my steps unhurried. Let me feel the ground beneath me. Let me not rush past the lessons of stillness. Let your peace begin in my thoughts. Where fear used to write the script, let faith speak gently instead. When I begin to spiral into all the what-ifs, pull me back to what is true, that I am here, now, that you are here, now, and that is enough. Let peace move from my thoughts into my body, softening my shoulders, slowing my breath, reminding every part of me that I am not in danger, I am held. Then let your peace shape my words. Let me speak slowly. Let me listen well. Let my conversations carry a gentleness that disarms tension. May the people I meet today feel something different in me, not because I am impressive, but because I am settled in grace, settled in your nearness, settled in the quiet knowing that you are in control even when I am not. And Father, let peace reach even deeper into the buried places, the spaces I rarely name out loud, the shame that still lingers, the bitterness I thought I had let go, the grief I tucked away to survive. Let peace come even there, not as a demand for resolution, but as an invitation to healing. I do not want to hide these places from you. I want to bring them into the light and let them be transformed slowly, steadily, tenderly. Sometimes I feel as though I should be further along, that peace should have come sooner, that I should be stronger by now. But you are not impatient with me. You do not rush my process. You meet me on the slow path, walking beside me without pressure, without shame. You are not a God who hurries healing. You are the one who stays with me until it is complete. And in that staying, I begin to believe again that peace is possible, even for me. Father, if peace is a path, let me keep walking it, one quiet step at a time. Let me return to it whenever I stray, when I feel the urge to fix, to fight, to flee. Remind me that your way is different, that I do not have to win every battle to be okay, that sometimes the most courageous thing I can do is rest, to be still, to say, I do not know, but I am not afraid. I lift to you the ones I love, who are also searching for peace in their own hidden ways. Those who smile in public and tremble in private. Those who carry grief they cannot name. Those who lie awake when the world is sleeping. Whisper peace to them. Father, let it settle over them like a blanket, gentle and sure. Let them feel seen. Not for what they show, but for who they are beneath the noise. Let them find, even in this very hour, that they are not alone. And as for me, let this peace become not just a moment, but a way of being. Let it shape how I move, how I pray, how I respond. Let it be my guide when life becomes loud again. Let me become a person who carries peace into every room. Not because I am untouched by trouble, but because I am rooted in something deeper. Something immovable. Something holy. So I will not demand that this day be easy. I will not insist that all the answers come. I will simply begin here, with breath, with trust, with the decision to walk the slow path of peace. And I will walk it with you, one step at a time, knowing that with every step, I am becoming more whole, more free, more steady in the truth that you are near, and that is all the peace I need. Father, as I walk slowly through the path of peace, I feel the quiet strength it begins to build within me. Each breath taken stillness reminds me that I am not exposed, not abandoned, not left to face the world alone. That truth rises gently like a wall of protection around my soul. And now I begin to see it clearly. You are not only my peace, but my protector. You are not just a shelter in passing storms, but a fortress that stands unmoved through every season. You are my refuge, strong, steady, unshakable. I do not say this lightly. Father, I know what it is to feel vulnerable, to feel like everything I have built could collapse at the touch of one more burden. I have felt the ground shift beneath me and wondered if I would survive the fall. But you have proven over and over again that when everything else gives way, you remain. You do not crack beneath pressure. You do not withdraw when trouble rises. You surround me with walls not made by human hands, but by eternal faithfulness. This morning, I choose to step into that place again, not a physical space, but a truth I carry within me. You are my fortress, not my last resort, but my first retreat. You do not just respond when I cry for help. You stand ready before I even know what to fear. You see the battles I do not, and you prepare protection for what I cannot foresee. Even when I am unaware of the danger, you are already defending me. Father, I bring to you the parts of me that still feel exposed, the thoughts that race too quickly, the emotions that rise too loudly, the fears that live just beneath the surface. I bring you the wounds that still ache when touched, and the questions that echo in the hollow places of my heart. I do not come pretending to be fearless. I come asking for covering, for the kind of security that no one else can offer. Be my fortress when anxiety creeps in through unseen doors. Be my fortress when doubt tries to erode my confidence. Be my fortress when conflict arises and I feel too weak to hold peace. Let me lean not on human strength or clever escape, but on the sure foundation of who you are. Remind me that I am not a city without walls. I am not defenseless. I am surrounded by your presence, sealed by your promises, held within the stronghold of your love. Father, teach me how to live from within that refuge. Let it shape my posture. Let it soften my reactions. Let it quiet the alarms that go off in my mind when pressure builds. You have not asked me to fight alone. You have invited me to dwell in the safety of your presence. And within these walls, I am not only protected, I am also known. You see all of me, even the places I try to hide. And still you cover me. There are battles I face that are too great for my strength, relationships I cannot mend on my own, situations I cannot fix with logic or effort. In those places, remind me that my safety is not in control, but in surrender. I do not have to win every conflict. I do not have to prove my worth. I do not have to carry the weight of everyone's expectations. I can hide myself in you, not to escape, but to be reminded of what is true. And when people misunderstand me or judge what they cannot see, be my defender. When the enemy whispers that I am unworthy or unlovable, be my truth. When life moves too quickly and I feel overwhelmed, be my stillness. Father, let your nearness silence the noise. Let your power quiet the panic. Let your faithfulness become the boundary line that tells fear it cannot cross. I think of the words that say you are a refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble, not a distant guard, but one who is near, even before the trouble comes. That changes everything. I do not walk toward your refuge, I walk with it. I do not have to run to find safety, it is already with me. This awareness gives me courage. It gives me calm. It gives me space to breathe even in the tension. Let me live today as someone who is covered. Let my tone be gentler because I know I am secure. Let my pace be slower because I do not have to hurry to safety. Let my words be wiser, because I am not speaking from panic but from peace. Let others feel it too, the quiet strength in me that does not come from perfection, but from protection. And Father, for those I love who feel exposed right now, feel like life has left them defenseless, I ask that you would draw them into your refuge. Shelter them in the places they cannot name. Hold them where they are trembling. Let them find in you a fortress that does not demand performance, but simply welcomes them in. Let them know they are not alone, not forgotten, not vulnerable to every storm that blows. Surround them. Hide them. Keep them. Thank you for being this place for me, not just once, but again and again. Thank you that I do not have to earn the right to be held by you. I do not have to qualify to be protected. I simply have to come. And so I come now, with nothing to offer but everything to surrender. Let me stay here long enough to be reminded of who I am and whose I am. Let me be so grounded in your protection that no threat can shake me from it. This is where I want to live, not in panic, not in pride, but in the hidden strength of your presence. This is where I want to return each day, not only when I'm afraid, but even when I feel strong, so that my strength is always rooted in you. For you alone are my fortress, my refuge, the place where my soul finds rest and my spirit finds peace. Father, even as I dwell within the walls of your refuge, I realize that safety alone is not what my soul longs for. I do not only need a place to hide, I need to know that I am held, not in theory, not from a distance, but in the most tangible and tender way, held in the way only you can hold me. Without judgment, without pressure, without letting go, my mind has often accepted the idea of your nearness. But my heart is still learning how to rest there, how to be still in your embrace without fear of slipping away. It is not easy to be held, Father, not for a soul that has grown used to carrying its own weight. I have learned how to brace myself, how to stand strong, how to keep moving even when I am tired. But I have not always learned how to collapse into grace. I have not always known how to let myself be comforted, to lean fully into arms I cannot see but can only trust. And yet now, as I sit in the quiet of this morning, I feel the invitation you extend, not to perform, not to prove, but simply to be held. This invitation is not loud. It does not come with flashing signs or grand demands. It comes as a whisper, as a steady warmth that wraps around the ache inside me. And slowly I begin to understand that to be held is not weakness. It is not regression. It is not failure to carry what others cannot see. It is the deep wisdom of the heart finally admitting that it was never meant to survive alone. You never asked me to be unbreakable. You only asked me to come. Father, I bring you my resistance, the part of me that still believes I must earn comfort, that I must deserve tenderness, that I must be doing better in order to be embraced. I surrender those lies one by one, and as I do, something inside me softens. You are not withholding your arms until I get it right. You are not watching from afar, waiting for me to climb my way back into your approval. You have always been here, arms open, ready not just to shelter me, but to hold me with the love that never left. Being held means letting go of my grip on the outcomes, letting go of the voice that tells me to stay strong for everyone else, letting go of the weight I picked up in secret, thinking no one else would notice. I let go now, slowly, imperfectly, with hands that still tremble, and in doing so I fall not into darkness, not into failure, but into you, into your mercy, into your care, into the holy safety of being known. I remember now how often you reached for those who were weary, how you stopped for the broken, the doubting, the frightened, not to correct them, but to lift them. Your arms have never been reserved for the strong. They have always been open to the ones who dared to be honest about their need. So I place myself in that company, not ashamed of my weakness, but grateful for the grace that receives me as I am. Father, Help me to live this day from that place of being held. Let it shape the way I move through the world. Let it calm the pace of my thoughts, ease the tension in my body, quiet the noise in my heart. When I feel myself reaching again for control, remind me that I am already held. When I am tempted to act out of fear, remind me that I am secure. When I forget who I am, remind me whose I am cradled, not by the shifting approval of others, but by the unchanging love of the one who formed me. There is a tenderness in being held that teaches me how to be tender with others. When I live from rest, I no longer need to demand, to defend, to dominate. I can respond with gentleness because I am not living from lack. I can be patient because I am not desperate. I can be generous because I am not afraid of being forgotten. Being held by you gives me the stability to offer others what I have received: kindness without condition, care without calculation, presence without pressure. And Father, I think of those who have never known what it means to be safely held, those who have had to build walls instead of trust, those who have learned to protect themselves because no one else did. I lift them to you now. I ask that in some quiet and unexpected way, you would make yourself real to them, that you would bypass their defenses and find the tender places they have hidden away, that you would hold them in a way they have never known and did not know they needed. For those who are grieving, today, wrap them in comfort that does not rush them to move on. For those who are lonely, let your embrace be felt more closely than words could explain. For those who feel ashamed, let them sense a love that does not flinch or withdraw. Let them know that being held by you is not a prize for the perfect, but a gift for the willing, a gift for the ones who say, I cannot carry this alone anymore. And for me, Father, let this not be a moment I forget. Let this morning not fade as the day grows busy. When the hours stretch out and the noise rises, bring me back here. Remind me that I do not lose your embrace just because I step into responsibilities. Remind me that even as I move, I can remain. That even as I speak, I am still being spoken to. That even as I work, I am still being carried. So I rest here. Not because I have figured everything out, but because I am learning what it means to be held. And in that learning, I am slowly healing, slowly softening, slowly becoming someone who knows that love is not something I have to reach for. It is something I can rest in. It is someone I can lean into. Someone I can trust to hold me, even when I forget how to hold myself. Father, even as I learn to be held by you, I realize how tightly I still cling to the things that once hurt me. Your arms are steady, yet my grip remains clenched around memories, words, and moments that never healed the way I thought they would. It is strange how pain, though heavy, becomes familiar, how I have wrapped it in layers of identity, worn it like armor, believed it was safer to carry it than to let it go. But now, in this quiet space with you, I am ready to begin the slow and sacred work of release. It is not that I have not tried before. Father, I have told myself to forget, to move on, to outgrow the pain. I have tried to bury the ache beneath distractions and business, to numb the sting with silence. But I have learned that pain unspoken does not disappear, it settles deeper. And though I am learning to rest in your love, some corners of my soul still carry echoes of old wounds, buried but not healed, quiet but not gone. And you, in your tenderness, do not rush me to release them. You simply stay. Today, I bring to you what I have not known how to name. The unspoken disappointments, the betrayal that reshaped my trust, the words that still ring in my mind years after they were spoken, the absence that never quite stopped echoing, the guilt I carry over things I did or failed to do. These are not just memories. They became part of me. But now, as I sit in your presence, I no longer want to be defined by what hurt me. I want to be healed. And healing, I am learning, begins with letting go. But letting go is not the same as forgetting. It is not pretending that nothing happened. It is choosing to no longer let the pain become the lens through which I see the world. It is no longer rehearsing the same story of loss until it drowns out every other chapter of grace. It is not erasing the past, but refusing to let it hold my present captive. You are not asking me to deny what broke me. You are inviting me to place it in hands more capable than mine. Father, I confess that sometimes holding on feels like control. I replay the hurt because it gives me a reason for the walls I have built. But you are not shaming me for those walls. You are offering something stronger than protection, peace. Not the kind that comes from avoidance, but the kind that flows from surrender. So I place each memory in your care. I lay down every whispered regret, every bitter fragment of what was lost, every wound I tried to keep hidden. You see them all. And still, you welcome me without hesitation. Teach me what it means to forgive not just others, but myself. Help me release the self-blame I carry like a second skin. The relentless belief that I should have known better, done better, been better. You are not holding my failures against me, so why do I still hold them against myself? Let your mercy be the balm that loosens the grip of shame. Let your kindness dismantle the fear that if I let go, I will forget the lesson or lose the strength it gave me. Remind me that strength can come from softness too. And when the memories return, as they often do, help me not to fight them, but to face them with you, to look at what once crushed me and see how I survived, to recognize the moments where I thought you were absent and discover that you were holding me through it all, to acknowledge the sorrow but not be overtaken by it, to remember not only the pain, but also the presence that never left my side. In this remembering, may I find release. Father, there are people I need to release too, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in freedom. I cannot carry their choices anymore. I cannot keep reopening wounds by wishing they had been someone else. I place them in your hands, where justice and mercy meet. I stop rehearsing conversations that will never happen. Stop rewriting endings I cannot change. And in doing so, I make room for something new, not closure, but clarity. Not resolution, but redemption. I release the pressure to understand everything. Some things will never make sense from where I stand. Some stories do not have satisfying explanations. But you are not asking me to explain the past you. You are inviting me to trust you with it. And so I surrender the need to untangle every thread. I trust that you are weaving something beautiful, even from the unraveling, that nothing is wasted, not even the pain I now place in your hands. Letting go is not a one-time act, but a daily posture. And so, I choose again today to loosen my grip, to breathe deeper, to walk lighter, to believe that healing does not erase what was, but it transforms what is. I open my heart to the possibility that I am not broken beyond repair, that joy is not something I have to earn after suffering enough, that peace is not the absence of sorrow, but the presence of you within it. And as I let go of what hurts, I make room for what heals, room for laughter that feels honest again, room for rest that reaches the soul, room for love that does not require me to pretend, room for hope that does not depend on guarantees, room for grace to enter, softly but surely, until even the deepest wounds begin to breathe again. So I rest now, not because everything has changed, but because I am no longer carrying it alone. I am letting go, one thread at a time, one memory at a time, one burden at a time. And as I do, I feel the weight lift not into emptiness, but into your love, into the space where sorrow no longer rules and healing is not a distant promise, but a present companion. And I walk forward lighter, not because I have forgotten, but because I have finally begun to let go. Father, now that I have begun to loosen my grip and release what once held me, I find myself in unfamiliar quiet. The weight I carried for so long is no longer pressing against my chest, yet the silence it leaves behind feels almost foreign. There is stillness where striving used to be, and in that stillness, I am unsure how to be. After letting go, I expected relief to flood in immediately, but what greets me instead is this soft, open space. And maybe that is what surrender truly is, not the end of pain, but the beginning of presence. This stillness is not empty, though at first it seemed like it. It is not numbness, nor is it void. It is something deeper, a kind of peace that does not speak loudly, but sits with me quietly. It does not demand answers or proof. It simply is. In this place where I have set down my burdens, I am learning to dwell rather than do, to receive instead of reach. And it is in this surrender, this choosing to stop trying to fix, control, or explain everything, that I finally begin to hear you more clearly. Father, I used to think that if I stopped holding it all together, everything would fall apart. But now I see that some things needed to fall so they could be rebuilt in you. I am not in pieces, I am being reshaped, and stillness is the space in which that reshaping begins. It is here, in this sacred pause, that I feel you brush against the raw places I tried to keep hidden. You do not force me to move faster. You do not rush my healing. You simply stay, whispering that stillness is not stagnation, it is surrender breathing. There is something holy in not having all the answers, in no longer pretending to be stronger than I am, in allowing the silence to speak instead of trying to fill it with noise. I am so used to moving, achieving, proving. But here, in your presence, I am asked only to be, and being just as I am, without the weight of pretending, is far more vulnerable than any performance I have given. It is also more freeing. Stillness is not about passivity. It is about awareness. I begin to notice the smallest things again. The way the light softens the edge of a new morning, the quiet rhythm of my own breath, the subtle rise and fall of hope within me. These were always there, but I was too consumed by fear or regret to see them. Now that I have surrendered the need to carry everything, I can begin to notice everything that is already here, this moment, this breath, this grace. In the stillness, I hear the ache of old patterns asking to be broken. The parts of me that used to strive for approval, fight to be heard, or hide behind performance are slowly growing quiet. They do not vanish all at once, but they lose their grip, and in that space, your voice grows more distinct. Not louder, but clearer. Not urgent, but constant. It is not a voice that demands, "I have heard those before." Yours invites. It draws me near, not by fear, but by tenderness. Father, stillness has shown me how loud my inner world had become. Even in solitude, I carried chaos. Even in prayer, I rushed. But now, I see the sacred rhythm you offer, a rhythm that does not ignore sorrow, but also does not let it speak louder than your love. You are not only the God who speaks through thunder, you are the God who heals in the hush. And in the aftermath of surrender, I am beginning to trust that your silence is not absence, it is attention. A deep, patient waiting for me to simply notice that you are here. In this stillness, I remember how to breathe again, not to brace for impact, but to receive. I breathe in your nearness. I breathe out the need to earn it. I breathe in grace I did not work for. I breathe out shame I no longer wish to carry. The world outside continues at its frantic pace. But here, in this quiet place, I choose to slow, to root, to settle, because I know you meet me not just in momentum, but in stillness too. Father, teach me to remain here long enough to be changed. Let me not confuse comfort with healing. Let me not mistake stillness for stagnation. Let me stay long enough for roots to grow deeper than fear, long enough for trust to take root where doubt once grew. Let this stillness become sacred ground where new life begins to rise slowly, tenderly, and in time. When the day begins to call me back into motion, help me remember that I do not leave your presence. When I leave the quiet, I carry it with me. The stillness I have found in you is not bound by silence or solitude. It can become the undercurrent of my every moment, an inner posture of trust, a gentle awareness of grace, a holy pause even in the midst of business. I want to live from that place, to move not from pressure, but from peace, not from fear of what might be lost, but from faith in what is being restored. And when I forget, because I will forget, draw me back, not with guilt, but with kindness. Let stillness become my home, not a place I visit only when everything breaks. Let it be the ground beneath every step, the breath beneath every word, the pause before every reaction. Let me carry this surrender into each conversation, each task, each thought, Let it shape the way I love, the way I listen, the way I live. Father, thank you for staying in the stillness, for not needing me to be impressive or articulate, for receiving me even when I have nothing to offer but quiet. This moment has taught me that peace is not something I achieve, it is something I allow. And today, I choose to allow it, not because everything is solved or certain, but because you are here, and here is enough. As the morning light begins to stretch across the sky, I do not rush to fill the silence. I do not hurry to prove my worth. I simply remain. Quiet, held, known. I no longer need to perform, to explain, or to strive. I just need to stay awake to this moment. This stillness, this holy hush that follows surrender, and in that quiet, I finally hear it, the sound of peace becoming real. Father, as I continue to rest in the stillness you have led me into, I begin to sense something deeper rising beneath the quiet, a strength that is not loud, but sure. It does not shout to be noticed or demand to be admired. It simply holds. It holds me. And in that holding, I recognize it for what it is: grace. Not the kind I once thought came only when I deserved it, but the kind that flows even when I am weary, even when I falter, even when I doubt. It is steady, unshaken, gentle, and yet unmovable. It is strange how I used to believe that grace was a soft word, fragile somehow. But now, in this vulnerable place after surrender, I see how strong grace truly is. It has carried me when I did not even know I needed to be carried. It has waited for me when I was too busy trying to outrun myself. It has met me not just in my repentance, but in my exhaustion, in my confusion, in my silence. And somehow, it never grew tired of reaching for me. I see now that grace is not the end of striving, it is the reason I can stop striving. It is the gentle permission to be unfinished and still be loved. The invitation to be seen fully and not be shamed. I have spent so much time trying to prove I was enough, but grace was never waiting for proof. It was waiting for permission. Permission to flood the places I had barricaded with perfectionism and fear. Permission to soften the hardness I had mistaken for strength. Father, grace has not made me weaker. It has made me whole, not by fixing everything in an instant, but by reminding me that I do not have to be fixed to be held. You do not love me more when I succeed or less when I fail. You love me where I am, and in that truth, I am finding a quiet kind of courage, the courage to be honest, to be real, to be here. I once believed that being strong meant having no needs, but grace has taught me that real strength is found in admitting the ones I have, in lifting my empty hands to you without shame, in letting go of the masks I used to wear and standing here, uncovered and unafraid. Because grace does not recoil from my brokenness, it moves toward it, not to judge it, but to heal it, not to expose me, but to restore me. I do not need to perform for grace. I do not need to earn its affection or convince it to stay. Grace is not a guest, it is home. And every time I come back to you, I am not starting over. I am returning to where I have always been welcome. You do not greet me with frustration, but with tenderness, not with demands, but with delight. And that kind of welcome undoes me. It silences the voices in my head that still whisper, I am too much or not enough. It reminds me that I am yours. This grace does not erase pain, but it transforms it. It does not make life easy, but it makes it possible to live with an open heart. It wraps itself around the parts of me I thought I had to hide. The disappointments, the doubts, the hidden griefs I did not even have words for. It does not try to fix them all at once. Instead, it sits with them. It sits with me. Patient, kind, steady. Father, I do not always understand the timing of your work. Sometimes grace feels too slow. I want instant clarity, immediate relief. But you are not in a rush. You do not panic over the pace of my progress. You simply stay, and in your staying, you teach me that grace grows best in places where hurry has died. It takes root in the quiet soil of surrender and blooms slowly, gently, but with great strength. I used to think that strength looked like control, but I see now that grace looks like open hands, like trusting when there are no guarantees, like getting up again, not because I feel brave, but because you are with me. It looks like letting love have the final word, not fear, not shame, not failure, just love. In grace, I find the strength to forgive others and myself, not because the pain disappears, but because it no longer holds all the power. I find the strength to try again, to speak kindly, to hope when everything says I should not. Grace turns the impossible into the possible, not by changing the circumstance, but by changing me. You are not disappointed in how long it takes me to learn these things. You do not grow tired of reminding me who I am. Grace is the voice that stays steady when everything else wavers. The whisper that keeps calling me back to truth when my thoughts try to run elsewhere. It is not loud, but it is unyielding. It refuses to let go, even when I do. Father, grace allows me to be both broken and beloved, to be in process and still purposeful. It teaches me that healing does not require perfection, only presence. And you are always present, always near, always enough. In that, I find the strength to stop trying so hard to be strong, to simply be soft, honest, willing. Let this grace shape the way I live today. Let it be the lens through which I see myself and others. Let it soften the harsh words I might speak in haste. Let it slow my steps when I am tempted to rush past the moment. Let it hold me steady when anxiety starts to spin its stories. Let it remind me that nothing I face today is outside the reach of your mercy. Let me become someone who reflects that grace, not just receives it. Let me be gentle with the wounds of others, knowing how grace has tended mine. Let me offer patience instead of pressure, compassion instead of judgment. Let grace not only flow to me, but through me. And when I forget, because I will forget, remind me again. In a breeze across my face, in the warmth of sunlight, in the kindness of a stranger. Remind me that grace is not a lesson to master, but a reality to rest in. It is not a reward, but a gift. Not a result of my effort, but evidence of your love. Father, thank you for not giving up on me when I gave up on myself. Thank you for grace that is not fragile, but fiercely faithful, that stands beside me when all else falls away, that lifts me without pressure and holds me without condition. I walk into today not with certainty about what will come, but with confidence in the one who walks with me. I breathe deeply now, not because everything is clear, but because I am held. Grace surrounds me like a quiet strength, carrying me gently into whatever this day holds. And for the first time in a long time, I believe that is enough. Father, as I sit in the gentle strength of grace you have surrounded me with, I sense something beginning to stir. Not loudly, not with drama, but with quiet intention something new is forming. Almost imperceptibly, like the first roots pushing through soil long untouched. I realize now that grace does not just comfort me where I am, it also prepares me for what comes next. And what comes next is rebuilding. You have not led me to this place of surrender just to leave me there. The stillness has softened the ground. Grace has held me steady. And now, without rushing, you begin the work of rebuilding not from the outside, where I have so often tried to patch things together, but from within, where the real work takes root. This is not a renovation to impress others. This is restoration at the deepest level, brick by brick, breath by breath. You are shaping something sacred. I used to think rebuilding meant putting everything back the way it was. But you are not calling me back to old blueprints. You are inviting me to let go of the former patterns that no longer serve me, the false identities I clung to, the walls I built to protect my heart that became prisons over time. You are not asking me to return to who I was before the breaking. You are asking me to become who I was meant to be all along. This process is slow, sometimes painfully so. It is not about fixing things quickly, it is about forming something solid. There are days I want to rush ahead, to leap into action so I can feel useful again. But you keep calling me back to the foundation, to the quiet space where healing begins, to the hidden places that need honesty before they can be made whole. And in those hidden places, you are teaching me to build with truth, not image, not performance, not noise, just truth, the truth of who I am, the truth of who you are, the truth of how grace has met me and is remaking me. And in that truth, I find freedom, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that breathes. Father, I confess that rebuilding is harder than I expected. It requires courage I do not always have. There are days when I still feel the tremors of old fears, the aftershocks of pain that has not fully healed. I still hear the echo of voices telling me I will never change, that I will always be broken, that this work will never be enough. But your voice is stronger, even when it whispers. Your voice reminds me that I am not building alone. You are the architect of restoration. You see the full design even when I only see fragments. You are not discouraged by what others might call ruins. You see potential where I see failure. You see life where I see loss. And you do not abandon the work midway. You stay. You continue. You carry me when I cannot carry anything else. You remind me that rebuilding is not about reaching perfection. It is about creating space for what is true, lasting, and alive. In this process, I am learning to let go of what I thought I needed. Approval, control, constant productivity. Instead, you are teaching me to value what lasts. Integrity, stillness, compassion. You are teaching me to build slowly, with intention, with care, with deep roots instead of high walls, with open windows instead of locked doors, with a spirit willing to be shaped by love instead of driven by fear. I am beginning to see that strength is not proven in how quickly I recover, but in how honestly I allow you to rebuild me. And sometimes rebuilding means revisiting the rubble, looking again at the things I wanted to forget. But this time, I am not alone. This time, I am not afraid, because you are with me, not to condemn, but to restore, not to erase the past, but to redeem it, even the cracks, the scars, the broken beams. They are not wasted. You do not discard what is damaged. You rebuild with it. You use what the world might overlook. You honor the story behind every wound. And as you build, you plant peace in places where anxiety once ruled. You plant hope where despair had taken root. You plant joy where sorrow once grew unchecked. Father, I know this rebuilding is not just for me. You are shaping something in me that will hold others too, a quiet strength that does not boast, but bears, a heart that can offer comfort because it knows what it means to be comforted, a spirit that does not rush to fix, but is willing to sit and stay. The life you are forming in me is not for display, it is for connection. It is for love. It is for truth. And so I will not rush this work. I will not despise small beginnings. I will not compare my progress to someone else's timeline. This rebuilding is sacred. It is yours. I surrender to your pace, your process, and your purpose. I trust that what you are forming in me will outlast the storms that once shook me, because what is built on you cannot be shaken. Today, I take one step forward not because everything is clear, because I trust the one who goes before me. I speak words of kindness, even if my voice still trembles. I show up in honesty, even if I still feel unsure. I choose to believe that what you start, you will finish, that what you rebuild, you will sustain. Let my life be a shelter, not a showcase, a place where others find rest, not judgment. Let the rebuilding you are doing in me become a testimony, not of my strength, but of yours. Let it reflect grace in every beam, peace in every corner, love in every line. And when the world tries to measure my worth by what it can see, let me remember that the most important work is happening where eyes cannot go. Father, I am yours, in the silence and in the shaping, in the falling apart and in the being remade. I am not finished, but I am being formed. I am not who I was, but I am not lost. I am not complete, but I am not without direction. I am rebuilding from the inside out. Father, As I continue this path of rebuilding, I now find myself entering a quieter stretch, the kind where footsteps feel heavier, where each breath seems louder than your voice. I know you are near, yet I can no longer hear you the way I did before. The comfort of your whispers, the nearness of your presence that once wrapped around me like morning light now feels distant, almost paused. And so I bring this silence to you not to accuse, but to understand. I do not know when the quiet began. Perhaps it crept in slowly, like dusk replacing day without fanfare. At first, I mistook it for peace. Then, when questions rose without answers, and longings deepened without response, I recognized it for what it was: a holy silence that both unsettles and refines. It is not absence, but stillness, not rejection, but waiting. And yet, it aches. There is a certain kind of loneliness that only silence brings, the kind where I question not just what you are doing, but whether you are listening at all. I replay old prayers, wondering if they have gone unanswered or merely unheard. I wonder if I have wandered too far, if something in me has shut down the signal. But then I remember your love is not so fragile that my doubt could undo it. You are not fickle. You are faithful, even when I feel nothing. Father, I know you do not speak just to soothe me. Sometimes you withdraw not to punish, but to deepen my hunger. You know how silence sharpens the soul, how it clears away the noise that once pretended to be enough. You do not always answer in ways I can measure, but you are always moving beneath the surface, behind the veil, beyond what my senses can grasp. Even when you are quiet, you are not absent. Still, it is hard. It is hard to continue walking when my spirit longs for a word that does not arrive. It is hard to hold on to what you said before, when I desperately want to hear something new. But maybe that is part of the refining. Maybe silence is the invitation to remember, to revisit the promises you have already given, to stop searching for new directions and instead stand firm on what you already spoke. You are not lost to me. I am not forgotten. I am simply being drawn deeper. Silence, I am learning, is not the end of relationship. It is an invitation into trust, into maturity, into believing even when nothing stirs, into standing even when the wind has stopped, into faith that does not depend on frequent reassurance, but on the unshakable truth of your character. Father, I confess I have tried to fill the silence with substitutes, with noise, with distraction, with explanations that only leave me more confused. I have turned to voices that promise certainty but deliver chaos. But none of them hold the weight of your presence. None of them satisfy like the echo of even a single word from you. So here I am, not asking for you to speak just to ease my discomfort, but asking you to teach me how to wait well in this stillness. Teach me how to sit without rushing to fix. Teach me how to pray without needing to hear a response immediately. Teach me how to trust that even in silence, I am being shaped, that you are closer than the silence implies, that silence is not a punishment, but a passage. You have walked with the silent before, with those who wandered deserts, who built arks in dry places, who waited decades for promises to bloom. You know how to lead without noise. You know how to guide with presence instead of answers. And so I will follow, even if the path feels dim. Even if the night stretches longer than I expected. Even if the sky remains closed for now. Let this silence strip away the things I never needed. Let it reveal the places where I placed more trust in feelings than in faith. Let it refine my desire till what I crave most is not relief, but intimacy, not signs, but surrender, not shortcuts, but the slow, unfolding work of your hand, even in silence. You are the God who sees, the God who remembers, the God who stays. And if all I hear today is the sound of my own breath, let it be enough, because that breath is a gift, a reminder that I am still alive, still held, still known. That breath carries prayers, even when words fail. That breath was formed by you and sustained by you. Even now, Father, I will not mistake your silence for absence. I will not let this quiet season define your faithfulness. You are not withholding love. You are deepening it. You are not gone. You are growing me. And if you are speaking in a language I do not yet understand, I will not stop listening. I will remain open, attentive, soft, even when I hear nothing. I will bring you everything. Today, I do not ask for noise. I ask for awareness, for eyes to see what you are doing in the unseen, for ears to hear the whisper beneath the silence, for a heart that waits with hope instead of panic, for a soul that remembers the last word you spoke and holds on to it like an anchor. I may not hear you today. I will not stop showing up. I will not stop worshiping. I will not stop believing that you are still God. Still good, still writing the story that silence cannot erase. And if this silence lasts longer than I expected, I will not assume it means you have walked away. I will believe it means you are building something in me that words alone cannot accomplish. Something deeper, stronger, eternal. I will let the silence stretch me not into despair, but into depth, into the kind of faith that does not flinch, into the kind of hope that waits without demand, into the kind of love that does not rely on constant reassurance to survive. Father, if you are silent, then let me be still. Let me be faithful in the quiet. Let me be grateful in the waiting. Let me be present in the in-between. Let me become the kind of person who walks with you, not just when the path is loud with praise, but when it is hushed with mystery. I trust that when the time is right, you will speak again, not because I forced it, but because you always finish what you begin. And when you do, I will recognize your voice, not because I forgot it, but because I learned to treasure it even more in the silence. Father, even in the quiet, when your voice feels distant and my heart strains to listen, I find myself drawn not to what I lack, but to what I have known. The silence has not erased the story we share. It has only deepened my need to remember. And so, I come to you today not with new questions, but with old truths. I come not searching for what is next, but holding tightly to what has already been. because remembering has a power all its own. It anchors me when the present feels uncertain. It whispers strength into moments when I forget who I am. It reminds me that you have never failed, even when fear tried to tell me otherwise. There is hollowness in looking back, not to dwell in regret or replay old wounds, but to trace the thread of grace that runs through it all. I remember, Father, the first time I truly felt you near the warmth that settled over me when I was lost in pain. The way peace arrived like an unexpected breeze. I remember how you carried me through seasons I thought would break me. How you provided when I had nothing left. How you calmed storms I thought would never pass. Those memories are not just comfort, they are testimony. They are living proof that silence does not equal absence, and delay does not mean denial. You have always been writing a story far deeper than I could see. And today, as I pause to recall, I find that story still unfolding. Even when I cannot feel it, the same hands that held me then are holding me now. The same faithfulness that met me in past valleys is guiding me through today's unanswered questions. The same love that found me at my weakest is sustaining me now. Sometimes, in the rush to move forward, I forget the value of looking back. I chase after signs, clarity, and confirmation, when what I truly need is stillness and memory, to sit with what you have already said, to relive the places where your light broke through, to let my soul be reminded that if you did it once, you can do it again, that what you began, you are still completing, even when I can yet see the finish. Memory is more than nostalgia, it is worship. It is choosing to honor what you have done instead of doubting what you have not. It is allowing gratitude to rise in the middle of confusion. It is opening my heart to joy, not because everything is resolved, but because not everything has to be in order to be beautiful. You have given me stones of remembrance moments, people, places, and even scars that now shimmer with your healing. And when fear tries to convince me that I am alone, these memories speak louder. They declare what my feelings sometimes forget, that I have never walked alone, that you have always been near, that grace has always been sufficient. Father, help me to carry these memories as armor, not as burdens, but as truth. Let them shield me when doubt creeps in. Let them speak louder than the lies that threaten my peace. Let them restore joy when cynicism begins to grow. Let them remind me that no silence is so deep that you cannot break through it again. Even the pain I once begged you to remove has now become a chapter of redemption. The nights I cried myself to sleep have become the proof of mornings that came anyway. The prayers I thought you ignored became the ground where miracles quietly grew. And now, in the stillness, I see how memory turns history into hope. How what has been becomes the soil for what will be. So I choose today to remember. Not selectively, but honestly. I remember the beauty, but I also remember the H, because in both, you were present. In both, you were working. In both, you were teaching me that trust is not born from ease, but from endurance. That intimacy is not only built in moments of clarity, but in seasons of mystery. Let the act of remembering become my strength, Let it be the gentle push that keeps me going when I want to give up. Let it call me back when I drift toward fear or forget who you are. Let it be the melody that keeps playing even when the lyrics fade. Let it be the rhythm that keeps my heart aligned with yours. And even when my memory feels fragile, when the edges of old moments blur with time, I trust that you remember perfectly. That what I forget, you still see. That even my broken recollections are held safely in the fullness of your knowing. I do not have to remember every detail in order for you to redeem every moment. Father, I thank you for the gift of remembrance, for the sacred work of recalling not just what happened, but who you were in the midst of it. Let this discipline shape me, not into someone stuck in the past, but someone grounded in truth. Let it stir worship in my waiting. Let it restore wonder in my wandering. Let it become the lens through which I see today, not as a void to be filled, but as a continuation of your faithfulness. Today, I will not define my hope by what I see, but by what I remember. I will not measure your presence by my emotions, but by your history with me. I will not let silence overwrite what grace has already written, because memory does not lie when it is anchored in truth, and your truth is unshaken. Let the power of remembering guard my heart. Let it speak louder than my worry. Let it be the soil from which trust can rise again. Let it remind me that you are still writing, still weaving, still redeeming. And when the next season comes, with its own silence or storm, I will have this well of memory to draw from, a sacred echo of all the times you came through. And that will be enough to keep going. That will be enough to believe again. Father, I return to this place again, where memory meets the present and shapes the way I see today. I carry with me the echoes of what you have already done, and as I lean into this remembering once more, I realize how much strength it brings, not just as reflection, but as preparation. You have not called me to dwell in the past, but to draw courage from it, to let every memory become a stepping stone of trust. Yesterday's grace is not just a comfort, it is a map. The path I have walked with you becomes the proof that you will guide me forward. And though the terrain ahead may still be unknown, it is not unmarked. You have left reminders all along the way, breadcrumbs of mercy, signals of your sovereignty. I need only to pause, to breathe, to remember. Even the ordinary memories hold divine meaning. The moments when I laughed without fear, when peace was not something I had to chase, when prayer flowed like conversation, those are not lost. They are stored deep within my spirit, waiting to be summoned when the weight of today makes me forget. And even the painful chapters are no longer stains, but sacred ink in a story being rewritten by love. I remember the way you whispered through disappointment, the way you sat beside me in seasons that never unfolded the way I hoped, the way you did not rush me through grief, but taught me how to grieve with hope. Each of those lessons, buried in memory, is still alive with purpose. I bring them forward not as trophies, but as truth. Sometimes, Father, I wish my mind were better at holding on, that I could recall every detail, every answered prayer, every miracle in perfect clarity. But you know how fragile memory can be. That is why you left your word, your spirit, and even the witness of others to remind us, when our own remembering fades, that your faithfulness does not. You are the God who remembers when we forget. Still, you invite me to practice the remembering, to recount not to impress, but to inspire faith, to speak aloud what you have done, not for others' validation, but for my own soul's reassurance. When I testify to the past, I plant seeds of belief for the future. And sometimes, the one who needs to hear the story most is the one who lived it. So today, I choose to become a steward of my own testimony, not in polished words or perfect recollections, but in sacred honesty. I recall the nights I did not think I would make it, the doors that closed and the windows that opened unexpectedly, the conversations that shifted my direction, the people you sent at just the right time, the moments I cried out in desperation and found your peace waiting like an old friend. None of these memories are accidental. They are gifts. They are threads in a tapestry that looks like chaos from one angle, but when viewed through the eyes of grace, reveal a masterpiece in motion. My remembering may be imperfect, but your work within those memories is not. Even what I misunderstand now will one day be seen with clarity. And I see now that remembering is not just about me. It is a bridge between generations. The stories of your faithfulness in my life become light for those walking behind me. My quiet victories become someone else's courage. The grace you have poured into my days can overflow into theirs if I will simply tell the story, if I will remember out loud, even in silence. Memory speaks. When I cannot find the words to pray, I let the memory of your goodness fill the gaps. When fear clouds my thoughts, I bring forward the pictures of your strength. When hope feels thin, I wrap myself in the blanket of what I have already survived, and I realize that remembering is not passive, it is active resistance against despair. Let me carry memory as both shield and song, a shield against lies that try to separate me from truth, a song that keeps playing in the background of my spirit, humming gently when the noise of life grows loud. Let it soften me where I have become hardened. Let it ground me when I am tempted to run. Let it remind me that you have never stopped being good. Father, help me not to idolize the past, but to interpret it with grace, not to seek to return to former seasons, but to allow their beauty to fuel my faith. Let me hold memory not as a weight that keeps me stuck, but as wings that lift me forward. Let every remembered promise point me back to the one who made it. And when I begin to forget again, as I often will send gentle reminders, a familiar melody, a sunset that stirs something inside, a scent that recalls joy, a word from someone unaware of what I needed to hear. You know how to awaken memory in the quietest ways. You know how to speak to my soul without a sound. You are the keeper of all my days. And while I may lose track of time, you never lose track of me. You see where I have been. You know where I am going. You stand outside of time, and yet you step into it. Daily, just to walk beside me, just to remind me that nothing is wasted, that every moment has meaning, even the ones I can no longer name. So I will lean into memory not just to soothe myself, but to center myself. I will let it shape my faith, not just my feelings. I will revisit the landmarks of grace not to live in them, but to be led by them. I will collect the memories that reveal your love and allow them to shape how I see the road ahead. This is not nostalgia. This is transformation. This is how the past becomes holy ground. How the fragments of yesterday become the foundation of tomorrow's trust. How even silence finds its voice in remembrance. Father, you who know the weight I carry even before I name it, I come to you again, carrying not just memory now, but the kind of that remembering can stir. In the quiet of looking back, some wounds begin to whisper too. Not every memory brings peace. Some return like shadows, uninvited, reminding me of what has not yet healed. And so today, I ask for the courage not only to remember, but to release. Because there are things I am still holding that hurt. Words spoken years ago that settled into my bones. Silences that screamed louder than noise. Hands that never reached back. Hopes that did not live long enough to bloom. Losses that arrived without warning. And grief that overstayed its welcome. Some of these hurts have become so familiar that I do not even recognize the tightness they cause in me anymore. They have become part of how I move, how I breathe, how I guard myself. But you see it all. You know where pain hides. You know how it nests in the corners of my soul and shapes how I love, how I trust, how I show up. And you are not offended by my pain. You are not wary of my wounds. You never tell me to toughen up. Instead, you invite me gently to lay it down. Not because it did not matter. Not because it was not real, but because it is too heavy for me to carry any longer. I do not want to pretend anymore. I do not want to numb myself with distraction or disguise my with false cheer. I want to be honest here, with you, in this stillness. I want to tell the truth about what still hurts. The betrayal I never got closure from. The apology that never came. The mistake I can't seem to forgive myself for. The way I learned to shrink myself just to feel safe. I bring it all into the light of your kindness, not for punishment, but for healing. Letting go does not come easy. My hands have curled around these hurts like they are part of me. But slowly, with trembling fingers, I begin to unclench. I begin to believe that release does not mean forgetting. It means honoring what was while choosing not to let it define what will be. It means making space for something better to grow. It means trusting you to do something with the pain that I cannot. And still, Father, I feel afraid. What if letting go leaves me empty? What if the pain is the last connection I have to something I loved? What if forgiving means losing something forever? But you remind me that release is not absence, it is surrender. It is not erasing the past, it is releasing my need to control how it should have gone. You do not ask me to deny the wound, but to let you tend to it with gentleness. So I breathe out bitterness. I exhale the narratives I have rehearsed too long. I lay down the false comfort of resentment. I no longer want to carry poison in my pocket and call it strength. I no longer want to hold tight to hurt just to feel in control. You are the keeper of justice. You are the God who sees what was done in secret. You are the one who redeems what was broken. So I do not need to carry this burden to make it matter. You already know that it matters. Today, I make room for peace. Not peace that forgets, but peace that forgives. Not peace that skips over pain, but peace that walks through it with grace. I let go, not because it was small, because I trust you to hold what I can see. I let go of needing everyone to understand. I let go of waiting for the right words that may never come. I let go of the version of me that only knew how to survive by hiding pain. And when the memory comes back again, as it often will, I shame myself. I will remember this moment, this offering, this choosing. I will remind my heart that healing is not linear, and grace is patient. I will turn again toward the light, even if I have to do it 1,000 times. Because letting go is not an event, it is a practice. And you are not counting my steps. You are simply walking beside me. Thank you for being the kind of father who does not rush me, who does not roll your eyes when I flinch, who does not grow cold when I resist. You wait. You whisper. You weep with me. And when I am ready, you open your hands to receive what I release. You are not asking for perfection, only permission to hold what I no longer need to carry alone. So I begin here. I begin now, with one wound, one breath, one letting go. I name what still stings, not to reopen it, but to finally give it space to breathe and heal. I confess the fears I have buried so deep they feel like facts. I speak aloud the shame I have wrapped in silence. I offer the anger that has simmered behind politeness. You are not surprised. You are not scared off. You are already holding space for all of it. Father, help me become softer. Not harder, because of pain. Help me stay open. Even when I want to shut down, help me forgive. Even if it takes time, help me heal in ways that are honest and slow and real. Help me to no longer define myself by what was done to me, but by what you are doing in me now. Let this be the morning I begin again, lighter than I was yesterday. And let the space that opens up inside me be filled with something holy. Let joy take root where bitterness once lived. Let hope grow where resentment once clung. Let love return in places I feared were too scarred to feel again. Let me become someone new, not by erasing the old, but by being transformed through the letting go. Dear Heavenly Father, it is still with open hands that I come to you again this morning. The letting go I began yesterday is not yet finished. It is not a moment I can wrap up and walk away from. It is a movement, a slow exhale, a gentle loosening of what has been tightly held for far too long. I thought that naming the pain and surrendering it once would be enough, but I now understand that some wounds ask to be released in layers. Father, I sense you are still sitting with me, not urging me forward too quickly, not rushing the process. You are not interested in clean and polished prayers. You welcome the messy ones, the ones still tangled in questions, still soaked in tears, still trembling from truth. So I return again, not because I failed to let go, but because this is how letting go works. It comes in waves. It returns to the surface like a tide, not to torment, but to be finally understood and released with more grace than before. There are pieces of pain I did not recognize the first time around. Small splinters I thought had healed, but were simply buried. Like the moment I stopped trusting. Not because someone said I could not, but because someone showed me they would not. Or the time I made myself invisible, not because I lacked value, but because being unseen felt safer than being rejected. These fragments surface now, not to shame me, but to be set free. You uncover only what you intend to restore. So I meet these moments with honesty. I sit in the presence of my younger self, the one who did not have the tools to grieve properly, the one who braced instead of broke down, who laughed instead of cried, who explained away instead of confessed her H. I do not rebuke her. I do not rush her. I welcome her into this space with you, knowing she too longs for the freedom of release. And as I hold her story, I do not hold it alone. You are here, holding us both. I realize now, Father, that letting go is not forgetting it, is remembering differently. It is no longer rehearsing the pain, but retracing it with compassion. It is re-seeing the moment, not through bitterness or blame, but through the lens of truth and healing. I do not erase what happened, but I release the power it has held over my today. I let go of the need to keep the wound open as proof of its existence. The pain was real, and still, it can be released. Sometimes the hurt was quiet, a glance, a sigh, an absence. Other times it was loud, a slammed door, a broken vow, a cruel word that carved itself into identity. Whether subtle or sharp, the wound shaped how I saw the world. But you, Father, are reshaping me now, not into someone who denies the past, but someone who is no longer defined by it. You remind me that I am not just what happened to me. I am also what I do with it now. Today, I choose to let go again. I let go of the story I have told myself to survive. The one that says I am too much or not enough. The one that says I must stay guarded to stay safe. I let go of the illusion that holding pain makes me strong, when in truth, it is vulnerability that carries the deepest courage. I let go of resentment disguised as righteousness. I let go of waiting for closure from others before I allow peace for myself. But Father, letting go is not always a clean break. Sometimes it is a softening, a sigh, a step toward release without reaching the destination just yet. I still hear echoes. I still feel tremors. Some days I let go with both hands. Other days I hold on without meaning to. But you never shame the days I struggle. You sit with me in every stage of surrender. And in this letting go, something beautiful begins to grow. Where pain once dug deep roots, now there is room for tenderness. Where I once clung to fear, now trust starts to stretch its limbs. Where silence once surrounded my wounds, now your voice gently sings over them. You turn empty spaces into sacred ground. Not because the hurt was holy, but because healing is. Help me, Father, to forgive the ones who did not know how to love me well. Help me to forgive the version of myself who did not know how to ask for what she needed. Help me to forgive the seasons where I cupped instead of lived. Help me to release my grip on the past, not by force, but by grace. Help me to stop revisiting the wound as proof of who I am, and instead begin living from the healing you are making possible. I do not need to perform strength today. I do not need to prove I am over it. I just need to be present here, in this sacred exchange, where I give you what still hurts, and you give me what still heals. I do not have to have all the right words. You understand sighs. You translate silence. You speak in ways my pain can finally hear. And you never grow tired of reminding me that I am not alone in this release. The letting go continue not as a task to complete, but as a way of walking, of breathing, of living. Let it weave itself into my prayers, my pauses, my relationships, my choices. Let it become how I move through the world, not holding pain like a shield, but letting love be the language I learn to trust again. Let it not just be an act of surrender, but a rhythm of restoration. As I go into this day, may my posture remain open. May I be willing to drop what I once thought protected me. May I carry less so that I can feel more. May I walk lighter, speak gentler, listen deeper, and when the ache tries to return, because it will, I will not panic. I will remember that release is not weakness, and returning to you is always the way forward. This morning, I do not rush healing. I honor the slow, sacred process of becoming whole. I trust that you are not done with me, that every release makes room for renewal, that every surrender plants a seed of peace, and that this peace will grow, even when I do not yet see the bloom. Father, I come to you in the hush of morning once more. My hands feel lighter today, not because everything is fixed, but because I have released enough of what hurt to make room for something new. And in this sacred clearing, I find the faint outline of something I almost forgot how to feel: joy. It surprises me. Father, it does not come loud or bright. It arrives quietly, like the first soft note of a familiar song long forgotten. I feel it in small, almost unnoticeable ways: the warmth of sunlight on the windowsill, the way my chest rises with a breath that feels just a little less heavy, the flicker of a smile not forced, but felt. Joy does not rush in. It returns slowly, respectfully, like a friend who knows I have been away for a while. This is the miracle of healing I did not expect, not just the absence of pain, but the gentle return of gladness. The truth is, I thought joy belonged only to the untouched, the unbroken, the ones who had not walked through fire. But here I am, carrying scars and still catching glimpses of joy in the cracks. Maybe that is how it works. Maybe joy is not what happens when life is perfect, but what rises again when I thought I could not. Father, I remember now that joy and sorrow have never been enemies. They sit side by side at the table of the soul. One does not erase the other. I can still carry memory and laugh. I can still grieve and dance. I can still tremble and lift my head. There is room for all of it in me. And you, who created the fullness of emotion, are not threatened by the complexity. You welcome my paradox. You created my heart to hold both ache and awe. I used to search for joy in grand gestures, in milestones, in applause, in moments that looked impressive from a distance. But now I find it closer, quieter, more honest. I find it in the taste of my morning coffee, in the softness of my pillow, in the way my favorite song finds me when I need it most. I find it in the eyes of someone who stays, in the silence that no longer feels empty, in the whisper that I am loved even when I am not producing, proving, or performing. Joy, I am learning, is not something I earn, it is something I notice. It is already here, hiding in plain sight, waiting for me to slow down long enough to see it. And when I do, it changes me. It does not erase the weight of the world, but it gives me something stronger to carry it with. Hope, wonder, gratitude, the soft armor of someone who chooses to rejoice even while healing. Father, teach me how to return to joy without guilt. Help me not to apologize for moments when I laugh a little too loudly, even if yesterday I cried. Help me not to second-guess the light just because I have known the dark. Help me not to sabotage the sweetness because I fear it one tea last. Let me taste joy fully, without bracing for the fall. Let me lean into it like sunlight through an open window, unresisted, undeserved, and entirely welcomed. Let this be the new rhythm in my life, not one built only on survival, but on delight. Let joy be part of my language again. Let it be how I greet the day, how I walk through ordinary spaces, how I love those around me, how I remember who I am. Let it soften my voice, brighten my eyes, quicken my step. Let it remind me that I was made not just to endure life, but to enjoy it. And yet, Father, I know joy is not always easy to hold. The world is loud with sorrow, and there are days when the grief around me threatens to silence my laughter. In those moments, help me not to feel selfish for feeling joy, but faithful, because joy in dark places is a form of resistance. It is how I declare that sorrow is not the final word. It is how I remind my heart that light still lives here. No matter how long the night has been, show me how to share joy without demanding others feel the same. Help me not to preach it, but to embody it gently, to become someone whose presence feels like an exhale, someone whose peace is not naive but rooted, someone who can smile not because everything is okay, because they have discovered that joy and pain can coexist without canceling each other out. Father, when joy feels distant again, and I know it will remind me that it has not abandoned me. It is just waiting for me to slow down, to listen, to notice, waiting for me to let wonder walk back into the room, waiting for me to trust that I am still worthy of delight. No matter how long I have lived in drought, joy does not need perfection, it just needs permission. So I give myself that permission today. I give myself the grace to smile without explanation, to celebrate small things, to laugh without apology. I let joy be the gift that it is unexpected, unscripted, holy. I do not need to chase it anymore. I just need to welcome it when it comes. And today, it has come. This morning, joy sits beside me. Not loud, not demanding, not fragile, but steady, gentle, true. It hums beneath my breath. It walks with me into the day. It turns the ordinary sacred and the broken beautiful. And though the world may try to take it, it cannot steal what has been planted deep. Joy is not a visitor anymore. It is returning home. Father, this morning I rise slowly, not because I am reluctant to face the day, but because I feel no need to rush. Joy has loosened something inside me, and in its gentle wake, I sense the quiet presence of peace, not loud or boastful, not an announcement, but a subtle knowing, a stillness that stretches farther than my circumstances, more enduring than any feeling. Peace walks with me now. Father, like a calm companion who does not ask for words. It is strange how joy opens the door and peace slips in behind it. One lifts the spirit, the other steadies it. Joy awakens something in me, but peace anchors it. They are not the same, but they dance well together. I used to think peace was a destination, something I had to strive for or earn. But lately, I have begun to see it differently. Peace is not a place I arrive at, it is a posture I live from. This shift in me did not come suddenly. It unfolded, slowly, across the quiet mornings where I let you speak and allowed myself to listen. In releasing what hurt and welcoming what heals, I made room for peace to grow not as a reaction, but as a way of being. And now, I find myself craving less noise, less chaos, less hurry. I long for the kind of life where peace is not something I grasp at, but something I breathe. Father, I used to confuse peace with the absence of trouble. I thought it only came when all was well, when every answer was clear, when no one was upset and nothing was unknown. But real peace, I am learning, is not fragile like that. It does not break at the first sign of hardship. It does not vanish when things go wrong. It is more stubborn, more rooted. It comes from knowing who I am and whose I am. Even when everything else is shifting, it is your presence, Father, that makes peace possible. Not the presence of answers, but the presence of you. That is what stills the waters within me. When storms rage around me, you do not always calm them, but you always stay in the boat. And that, I am beginning to understand, is peace. Not the storm being over, but you being near. Teach me to walk with peace, not just seek it when I am desperate. Let it become the rhythm of my steps, the cadence of my thoughts, the undercurrent of my emotions. Let it speak in the spaces where anxiety once lived. Let it rewrite the stories that fear tried to narrate. Let it become the filter through which I see the world not with panic, but with presence. Help me, Father, when the noise tries to reclaim my heart, when the headlines scream, when expectations shout, when guilt and shame whisper their familiar lies. Remind me that I have the authority to choose peace, not by ignoring reality, but by grounding myself in a deeper one. A reality where you reign, where I am loved, where I am not alone. Let my peace not depend on other people being peaceful. Let it not be held hostage by their moods or misunderstandings. Let it be mine quiet, rooted, unwavering. Help me not to absorb what is not mine to carry. Let me notice the chaos, but not become it. Let me witness the whirlwind, but not enter it. Let me feel the weight of the world, but hold it with open hands, trusting that I do not bear it alone. I want to walk differently now. I want my presence to be a pause. I want to carry a stillness that soothes the room without a word, not because I am untouched by life, but because I have learned to trust something deeper than the storm. I want people to feel lighter after being near me, not because I fix them, but because I am not trying to control them, because I am at peace, and peace is contagious. Father, I no longer strive for the perfect day. I no longer need everything to go right to feel okay. I only ask for the grace to walk with peace, to carry it in my breath and my bones. Let my mornings begin with quiet trust. Let my afternoons carry steadiness. Let my evenings close not in exhaustion, but in gentle surrender. When tension rises, teach me to pause before I respond. When pressure builds, let me find refuge in stillness. When I am tempted to panic, remind me that peace is a practiced choice, that I can exhale, step back, and ask again, what does love look like here? And most of the time, love looks like choosing calm, choosing quiet strength, choosing the long path, not the loud one. Let peace be how I parent, how I lead, how I love. Let it mark the way I speak, the way I listen, the way I move through the world. Let it protect me from the addiction to urgency. Let it guard me from the compulsion to fix, prove, or defend. Let it be what steadies me when everything else feels fragile. This is the life I long to live. Father, a life where I am not dictated by fear or controlled by outcomes. A life where peace is not rare, but regular. Where I do not chase it, but carry it. Where my days begin with it, end with it, and are shaped by it in between. Peace does not promise ease, but it promises presence. It promises enough. It does not erase the questions, but it sits with them unafraid. And that is enough for me today. Not perfect answers, but perfect peace. The kind that holds me, quiets me, and leads me through every valley and hill. So I lace up my shoes this morning, not with dread, but with stillness. I walk into the day not to escape the noise, but to bring peace into it. I carry it like a lamp, like a compass, like a promise. It goes where I go, because you go where I go. And as long as you are with me, peace will never be far. Father, even as I rise this morning with peace still resting on my shoulders like a quiet garment, I find myself returning not to worry, not to striving, but to remembering. Something about walking with peace draws me inward, invites me to look back, to gather what I have left behind, not out of regret, but reverence, not to relive pain, but to reclaim the proof that you have always been with me. Peace steadies me, but remembrance deepens me. It reminds me that today is not disconnected from yesterday, that every breakthrough, every tear, every moment when I nearly gave up but did not, each one is a thread in the tapestry you are still weaving. Father, you have never wasted a moment in my story. The broken parts shimmer differently when I dare to remember them through the lens of your faithfulness. I used to avoid the past, afraid of what I might feel. I thought remembering would reopen wounds, drag me backward, leave me stuck in cycles I worked so hard to leave behind. But I see now that remembering with you is different. It is not a return to pain, it is a reclaiming of grace. You meet me in the memories, not to shame me, but to show me how far we have come. You remind me of the days I almost did not make it, the seasons I could not see my way out, the nights when silence felt heavier than words. But even then, even there, you were already moving, already whispering to the deepest places. Hold on, I am still here. And now, in the quiet of this morning, I remember not just what happened, but who held me through it. Father, you do not erase my past. You redeem it. You transform the sharp edges into soft testimonies. What once brought me shame now points me back to mercy. What once felt like endings now read like turning points. There is power in looking back, not to stay there, but to gather the strength that memory offers. Because when I remember what you have done, I remember what you can still do. You were with me in the waiting, in the spaces between prayers and answers, in the seasons where nothing made sense, and yet somehow I was still breathing. You were there when I fell and thought I would never get back up. You were there in the moments of laughter, did not think I would ever feel again. You were the thread running through it all, quiet and steady. Sometimes the most courageous thing I can do is remember, not just the good days, but the hard ones, not just the milestones, but the messy middles, because they are sacred too. They tell the truth of a journey, not just a highlight reel. They remind me that healing did not always look like triumph. It often looked like simply choosing to try again. So today, I look back not with sorrow, but with sacred awe. I remember the people who spoke life into me when I had none, the prayers I did not have words for, but somehow you still heard, the days when all I could do was breathe, and that was enough, the time when one quiet whisper of hope kept me from unraveling. Let me not forget the small miracles. Father, the morning I woke up with just enough strength to begin again, the conversation that shifted something deep inside, the unexpected provision that came at just the right moment, the verse that found me when I was not even looking. These things are not small. They are stones of remembrance, markers of your mercy. Help me to carry my memories with tenderness, not shame, to see them as gifts, not burdens, to revisit the past, not to judge it, but to honor it, to thank the version of me who kept going, who made it through, who did not give up. Let remembering be the way I bless my own journey. I know there are still unknowns ahead, still valleys to walk through, still questions without answers. But what I have already walked with you, what I have seen, what I have survived, that gives me courage, that gives me language when faith feels thin, that tells me again and again, if you were faithful then, you will be faithful now. Remind me, Father, when I forget, when life rushes forward and fear tries to cloud my vision, when doubt whispers that this time will be different, that this mountain is too high or this season too long, remind me of what you have already done. Bring to mind the way you lifted me before, how you met me in the wilderness and made a path I could not see. Let my remembering be a daily practice, not a rare visit to the past, but a steady rhythm of gratitude. Let it shape my prayers, my choices, my trust. Let it keep me grounded when the winds rise. Let it be a shield against forgetfulness, against despair, against the lie that I am alone. There is strength in the stories I carry, not because I came through them unscathed, but because I came through them with you. Not because I had all the answers, but because you never left. I want to live in a way that honors that truth. I want to walk forward while holding hands with the parts of me that once trembled, now healed. I want to speak from the wholeness you are still building in me. Today, I remember, not just for me, but for others who may not see a way through right now. Let my memory become my ministry. Let my scars be signs of healing, not shame. Let my testimony be this, that you were good then, and you are still good now. And as the light rises outside my window, I remember that this too is grace. This breath, this moment, this ordinary morning laced with holy echoes. I do not walk into it empty. I carry the weight of every rescue, every redemption, every mercy I have been given. I walk forward because remembering tells me I can. Father, as I stand here in the quiet of morning, having walked a long road of surrender, trust, healing, and remembering, I find myself wrapped not just in reflection, but in a gentle light that does not fade. This light is not the kind that flickers with feeling or depends on the weather of my heart. It is steady. It is you. And as I breathe into this final moment of our journey together, I sense that nothing is ending. Everything is beginning again, just as it always does with you. I do not come today with questions that need answering or burdens that need solving. I come with stillness, with gratitude, with an open heart that has been softened and shaped through the slow work of grace. Each chapter I have walked with you, each morning I have whispered these words, has built something within me that cannot be undone. It is not just belief, it is belonging, a knowing that wherever I go from here, you are the one who goes with me. There were mornings when I was not sure I would make it through the day, moments when fear pressed heavy and silence seemed endless. But even then, something kept me coming back, not because I had the strength, but because you kept lighting the path, one step at a time, one breath at a time, one whispered prayer at a time. And in doing so, you taught me that the journey with you is not about arrival. It is about presence, about becoming. Now, as I linger in this final prayer, I do not want to rush past what it means to carry this light into the rest of my life. I do not want to treat this as the end of something sacred. I want to honor it as a doorway, a gentle unfolding into more. You are not a season I pass through. You are the air I live in, and this conversation we have held morning after morning is not finished. It is eternal. It is echoing into tomorrow and every day after that. There is no ceremony here, no grand conclusion, only breath and stillness and the quiet resolve to continue, to keep showing up to the moments that matter, to pay attention to the whispers of grace in ordinary places, to believe that you are just as close on the busy days as you are in the silence, to carry the softness I have found here into a world that often forgets how to be gentle. You have shown me that hope is not something I must find. It is something I must allow. You have reminded me that weakness is not failure, it is invitation. You have pulled me back from the edge of despair with a kindness so quiet it almost went unnoticed. But I see it now. I see you in the patience I have learned to offer myself, in the compassion I now carry for others, in the way I listen more closely to what my heart needs. That is your fingerprint, etched into the soul I once thought was too fractured to be whole again. Thank you for staying close when I wandered, for waiting when I rushed ahead, for whispering when I demanded clarity and offering presence when I begged for answers. Thank you for not giving me everything I asked for, but always giving me what I needed to grow. Thank you for holding space for me to weep, to rest, to rise. Thank you for being the light that stays, even when everything else shifts. And now, Father, as I prepare to step away from these written words and back into the rhythm of my daily life, help me to remember that the sacred is not confined to quiet mornings or long prayers. It is hidden in every act of love, every surrender, every quiet choice to trust instead of fear. Let this journey we have walked become a living prayer, not just in what I say, but in who I become. Help me love people better. Help me speak with more kindness. Help me listen without waiting to reply. Help me notice beauty where others rush past it. Help me pause long enough to hear your voice in the rustling leaves, in the laughter of a friend, in the ache of being human. Let my life reflect the stillness I have found here, even when the world tries to pull me away from it. May I wake tomorrow and the day after with the same wonder that met me on day one. May I rise with the ache to return not out of duty, but delight, not because I must, but because I get to, because you are here, and you are always worth meeting in the quiet, because your light does not fade, and neither does your love. It waits. It welcomes. It surrounds. And as I close this final chapter, I do not say goodbye. I say yes. Yes to what comes next. Yes to a faith that breathes. Yes to a love that lingers long after the words end. Yes to showing up to you in every sunrise, every shadow, every sacred pause. Yes to the daily miracle of being held by something greater than my own understanding. Yes to you. For every person who has walked this path with me, who has read and prayed and opened their heart across these pages, I thank them. I bless their journey, their questions, their quiet moments of courage. May what has begun in these mornings continue in their lives. May these prayers find them again on days they need it most. May the light we have found together guide them forward, gently, faithfully. If these words have met you in your need, I invite you to share your heart below, your prayer, your story, your hope, because your voice matters and your journey is not invisible. Let this space become a gathering place for grace. And if you have been blessed by these mornings, consider subscribing to the channel. Share this series with someone who needs light today. Let us keep building a world where faith is tender, where prayers are honest, and where hope is something we practice daily. Because even now, even here, as these words fall into silence, the morning light continues to rise. It stretches across the floor, soft and steady, touching everything in its path. Not loud, not urgent, just present, just true, just like you.